Hello everyone, this is Jennifer Brown, Family Consumer Science Agent with the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service. Well, we're going to provide some information on how to cook for one or two. Again, the first question we get is why bother? Well, you love to eat and it's a necessity, but home cooking tastes much better and it actually saves you a lot of money. You can try to get creative and spice up your meals with your friends. Enjoy some music, and enjoy just being in your home. And it's even great when you're trying to have potlucks with your friends. One of the things that we always want people to do is make it a colorful MyPlate. It helps you make healthier decisions. It makes it simple to remember because you know your 5 food groups. It's very colorful and it's really easy to understand portion size. You do need all 5 food groups at each meal. But overall, the MyPlate states that half of your plate is fruits and veggies. You want to vary your veggies, not just one type. Again, we want a wide range of different colors, switching it up and making sure it's not always starchy vegetables. So we tell people to eat a rainbow. And we're not talking about M&Ms or Skittles. We want color to your plate. When you're eating a protein, we want it to be a lean protein if we're talking about a meat. And you do need some grains in it, but the grains that you eat should be whole grains, as well as don't forget your dairy products. They need to be low fat or fat-free. Some tips for cooking for just 1 or 2 people. We recommend that you prepare larger amounts. Most people are used to cooking for a family of 4 or more, so go ahead and prepare that and freeze those portions for later meals. Have a plan to use your leftovers if you don't want to freeze them. We call them planned overs. You have a plan for your leftovers. Maybe you have some leftover chicken tonight and you can use it to make chicken fajitas tomorrow. We also recommend that you prepare and share meals with others. One of the things that we always tell people is if you have a couple of friends, you can invite them over and share that meal with them, and then maybe the next night you can go over to one of their friends. So basically every night of the week one of you is preparing and cleaning up from a meal, as opposed to you having to cook a new meal every single night. You can take some of your favorite meals and again just reduce the size of them. You can buy some new cookbooks. There's plenty of cookbooks out on the market for just cooking for 1 or 2. You can buy smaller packages or individual servings of foods. If you're looking to reduce the size of your recipe, you don't always just want to, half everything, because you're going to get things that you don't have enough of, or you're going to get things that are too strong if you're trying to even double recipes as well. It's the same kind of problem. So we recommend, again, making the entire recipe as is and freezing some for later. But when you are having a recipe that calls for maybe a 9 by 13 pan, use an 8 by 8 pan instead. Again, this slide has some different measurements to remember to know exactly, what a cup is when regards to tablespoons and tablespoons to teaspoons. And if you've got a cup of something, how many actual fluid ounces it is, and all the things that you need to know. And it has a little chart that was provided to us by the University of Nebraska-Lincoln Extension Service, how to make half of a recipe and how to make a third of a recipe. So it breaks down your recipe. If it calls for a 1/4 of a cup of something and you want to half it, that means 2 tablespoons. So you can use that chart and hopefully it will help you reduce the size of your recipes when cooking. The whole point of it is to make meal times enjoyable. Again, it shouldn't be a big chore or a big pain or whatever, especially if there's only 1 or 2 of you. But I often hear, well, it's just me, or it's just me and my spouse. We're not worth cooking a whole meal. Yes, you are. You need nutrition just as much as you needed it when you were a family and your kids were around. You need it probably even more now as you get older. It's very important to get all of your vitamins and minerals to keep your bones strong, to keep your mind focused, and all of those different things for your health and wellness so you're not developing any kind of diabetes, heart disease, or cancers. So in order to make our meal times enjoyable, we want to choose recipe with fewer ingredients. We used to make these recipes that were very difficult and time intensive and had like 20 different ingredients that we needed, and we always seem to have those things around our house. Now, if you're not cooking as often, or again, it's just you and one other person, you want to kind of keep your pantry a little bit thinner with things. You don't want to spend too much money on your food. So we want to choose recipes with fewer ingredients because we want to keep it simple. You can use freezer meals or even crock pots or Instapots. No matter what, you should enjoy what you eat. So don't just make a recipe because it's only for 2 people. Make it if it tastes good, if it's something that you like, if it's very flavorful. Again, I mentioned starting kind of a dinner group with friends where a different person cooks a meal each night of the week. You know, if you can't get to people's houses or whatever, you can even just kind of do delivery. However you can work it out. But one of the things that I always try to do is cook once and eat for a week. So I might buy a big bulk package of chicken. I will cook all of it on the grill, say Sunday night or something, and then every night I'm going to grab some of that chicken. And you know, I might put it in, say, a spaghetti one night. I might put it in a chicken chili another night. I might make chicken fajitas. I might make, you know, a chicken salad. I might just put some of the chicken on a regular salad. So every day I'm getting a different meal. It's not the same taste day after day. So it's different flavors, different meals, but the whole point of it is I cooked chicken one time and I was able to eat a different chicken meal. So I'm not getting sick of chicken because I'm eating a different meal, different flavors, different tastes, spicing it up every day a little bit differently. Again, we want it to be simple. Keep it simple. Simplify when possible. So I've got 2 different recipes on this slide. One of them on the right is kind of a standard lasagna, and you can see that there is about 12 or more ingredients for that lasagna. And then on the left, I have a easy, cheesy lasagna with 5 ingredients. So I've taken something that I love, you know, a nice lasagna, Italian meal, but I've made it simple. I've made it smaller. Again, letting someone else do the work. If you are able to do this, buy pre-cut fresh fruits and vegetables. It'll save you time. It'll save you effort. You can buy some stuff that's already cooked and add to your dishes, or you can, again, use leftovers that you've already had. I'll buy a rotisserie chicken that's already been cooked from the grocery store, and I'll use that as kind of my leftovers sometimes. So it's already been cooked for me, so I'll eat it as a rotisserie chicken the first night, and then the next couple of nights I have leftover chicken, and I didn't even have to cook at all. You can, if you have, again, the money to purchase food processor or those different kitchen equipments, they can help you do some of that dicing and slicing. But again, you can buy it pre-cut. You can buy canned. If it calls for cut up tomatoes, you can buy a can of diced tomatoes. But making sure that you're not buying unhealthy pre-made meals or fast food. So we don't want you to just go to the refrigerator section and get one of those chicken stir-fry bags because it's already got the sauce in there, which means it's very high in sodium. So trying to get all those ingredients, even if you're getting canned chicken, and doing it that way, and getting a plain bag of frozen veggies, throw it all in a skillet and cook it from there. So before you're even cooking, you need to get ready. This includes reading your recipes ahead of time and making sure you have all of the ingredients that you need, and planning your meals for the upcoming week. Again, you can use your store circular or other things like that, but also using that MyPlate so that you are making sure that half of your plate each night is fruits and veggies, that you have a lean protein, that you have some whole grains, as well as a low-fat dairy. Making and sticking to your grocery list. You can use an app for that, or you can do the old-fashioned, just pen and paper works great too. There are 2 apps that I have used. One is called Recipe Book and one is called Any List. The Any List one, I can actually share that app with my husband. We have the same app on our phone. It's a grocery store list, so I can be at work and add something to the list, and if he's in charge of going to the grocery store on the way home, he's already gotten it. I don't have to give him a call and say, hey, while you're at the grocery store, pick this up. It pops up on the app when he's at the grocery store, and he can check it off as he goes, and it categorizes everything, so it puts all the produce together. So when I'm writing a handwritten list, I write it as I think about it. So I might have tomatoes at the top, and then towards the bottom I have lettuce. And it involves me skipping around up and down on this list, making sure that I've got everything out of this section. It's much easier if you're using an app to do that. But keep it basic, keep it simple. If you were to come to my kitchen, you would see very basic kitchen supplies, very basic ingredients. So making sure that you have, just a couple of pots and pans, knives, cutting boards, measuring cups and spoons for both dry and wet liquids there for your measuring cups. Basic electric equipment, food thermometer for food safety. And again, in my pantry, I've already done a little video on pantry supplies: flour, sugar, condiments, herbs, spices, rice, pasta. I have canned meats, canned veggies, canned sauce. I have dried products like beans, lentils, bread. My dairy products are in the refrigerator. So I have a little bit of everything so I can make simple meals, and hopefully most of what I have is already here. Saving some time. I mentioned this before, that you can buy ingredients that will help you save time, that have already been pre-washed, pre-cut. You can buy individual servings of meat as opposed to a big old bulk slab of it. It's going to be cheaper if you buy it as a big old slab and you have to cut it up. The more things that you buy that you have to do a little bit of work with, it's going to save you money, but it's going to cost you more time. So you kind of have to figure out what's more important. What is preventing you from eating healthy? Is it time or is it money? So pick one of those excuses and run with it. Making sure, again, I use frozen or canned vegetables, watching out for that sodium, making sure that it doesn't have sauces in those bags or in those frozen products. So I get the steam bag veggies, and reading those nutrition labels to find your healthiest options. That's the right way to go. So when you're going to the grocery store, a couple of important grocery shopping rules. I tend to shop the perimeter of the store, so the outside edges of the store, because I go to my produce section and then I kind of go around to the meat section, and then I kind of hit the freezer section and the dairy section, and that's where most of the food is that I'm buying. I do go down the canned veggie section, or again, the rice section or the pasta section or that kind of stuff, but I try to stay away from the drinks and the cookies and the chips and those kinds of aisles. If I do have to go down to get something, I'm going to try to be as quick as I can. I do buy store brand because it's cheaper and I really don't notice a taste difference in flavor. I will buy in bulk, again, if it's cheaper and I'm going to eat it all, because it's cheaper if I buy a 3-pound bag of apples than if I buy the apples individually. But if I'm going to buy a 3-pound bag of apples and then I'm going to end up throwing most of them away because they're going to rot before I eat them, then it's not saving me any money. So think about that. I do not shop, if at all possible, when I'm hungry, because you tend to buy the wrong things. I organize my list, as I mentioned, into sections. You can do that even if it's a paper list. I will buy my vegetables and my fruits when in season to save money. So we're getting ready to start strawberry season right now. So I will buy some fresh strawberries from local farmers. Always checking the unit price. So I have a picture on this slide that's showing the unit price. So we tend to look at the store price, the retail price, which is in the yellow in the picture there. But what we want you to do is look in the corner. Usually it's the left corner, and in this picture it's orange. It'll show you the unit price. So what the unit price is, that's the retail price per size. So it might be per ounce, it might be per pound, whatever. So you can see these 2 cans of cut green beans. The one on the left is the store brand, the one on the right is a name brand. So you can see that just looking at the price in the yellow there, the store price, yes, it's going to be cheaper to buy the store brand of green beans, but we want to look more importantly at the other one, because sometimes the sizes of the cans are different. You can't compare a 1.5 pound can to a 1 pound can and be like, well, look, the 1 pound's cheaper, I'll buy that, that's a name brand. Yeah, but you're getting more food in the store brand, so it might be more expensive, but per ounce it's cheaper. So you can do this with any of your products that have labels. They'll have that unit price and really paying attention to it will save you a chunk of money. Again, plan for your leftovers. Have planned overs. Cooking once and eating twice, or eating for a week. You can bake a dozen muffins and put them in the freezer, or keep some out and have breakfast for a week. You can add fruit to your muffins or to your pancakes to help it look more like your MyPlate. I will bake potatoes for sides to use in the future. I can stir fry pre-chopped vegetables. I can freeze some vegetables later for stews. I can use leftover breads to make stuffing or croutons. Any leftover meat I have, I can make wraps, taco soup, stir fries, put it on top of a salad, put it in an omelet, anything. Just being creative. So what other things can you do with your leftovers? Well, for food safety purposes, we want to make sure that your leftovers are refrigerated within 2 hours, so you're not leaving them out in your kitchen for a long time. We also want to make sure that if you are putting them in your freezer, that you're using proper food grade storage bags or containers. So making sure it is either a freezer bag, if you're going to put it in the freezer. Other than that, you can use storage bags. There are differences. I did another video talking about those two things. You want to put a date on the leftovers of what it is and when it was made or when it was frozen, because there's plenty of times that you pull something out, a bag or a container out of your freezer. I can't tell if this is chili, if this is gravy, if this is stew, if this is what it is. But on a typical guidelines for leftovers, they can be kept, if stored properly, they're good for 7 days. We tend to recommend no more than 4 days. We call it a 4-day throwaway, because if I tell you 4, you might keep it for an extra day or 2, but if I tell you 7 is the maximum, you're going to maybe even try to keep it for 8 or 9, and that's definitely not. So it's in that range between 4 to 7 days. Restaurants are allowed to keep food for 7 days. So that might be that chicken salad that you love at your favorite restaurant was made 7 days ago. Okay, that is, as long as it's stored properly in proper temperature and labeled and everything else, it's good for 7 days. If you are freezing it, we recommend 1 to 3 months before the quality starts to deteriorate. So it's not a food safety issue, it becomes a quality issue where it just tastes freezer burned. It doesn't taste good, it just whatever, throw it away then. So spicing things up. Again, a lot of people, they want to cook with, they used to cook with lard or some kind of ham hocks or something like that. We want you to spice it up using herbs and spices, because this will be heart healthy and it will help you cook with less salt. So in order to do that, to make your usual meals a little bit more flavorful, you can use a dried herb or you can use a fresh herb. So depending on what your recipe calls for, and a general guideline is when you're using fresh herbs in a recipe is to use 3 times as much of a dried herb. So you follow your recipe. If it says, using a dried herb, it might say, 1 teaspoon. If you don't have dried herbs, all you have is fresh, then you're going to triple that. Likewise, if your recipe calls for fresh herbs and all you have is dried herbs, you're going to do 1/3 of that. So it's kind of a teaspoon versus a tablespoon. So that's a quick rule of thumb. Dried is always going to be less. Fresh is going to be more, because you're going to need more of the fresh to really give it that punch that you need. The dried has been ground down and you have all the spice. You don't have any extra fluff. You have the entire spice and it is good to go. So you don't need as much of the dried herbs. When you are looking for different meals or different recipes, remember that you can have the same things that you love and give it a different flavor. So I enjoy marinated pork tenderloin, and my kids seem to enjoy it, but I don't want the same taste all the time. So I have 2 different marinades listed up here onto the slideshow. So the one on the left is a simple, 5 ingredient thing. So that has a different flavor than the one on the right. They're both delicious to me, but I want to make sure that, I'm getting a different flavor. And I noticed a little misspelling there on the right recipe at the bottom there. That is ground ginger. I left off one of the G's, but that's your 2 recipes for a simple marinated pork tenderloin. I will use either one of these with chicken as well if I'm going to marinate some chicken wings, chicken legs, chicken thighs, any kind. Saving money and saving calories. So when you are at the store, we recommend, again, buying regular cooking oats, rice, or grits instead of instant. It will save you money. And also typically it saves calories, because when you're buying some of the instant stuff, you get the instant ones that have the flavors. You know, this is maple brown sugar instant oatmeals. So just buy the plain if you're going to buy instant at least. But again, it will save you money if you have to do a little bit of the work yourself. Using smaller amounts of meat in recipes, or you can substitute some of the meat out with other proteins such as black beans, peanuts, or eggs. I have a recipe for tacos that we'll make, and we'll take out some of the ground beef and we will put some mushrooms, you know, cut up mushrooms, diced mushrooms very finely, in place of some of the meat. So I can use a half of a pound of meat and use mushrooms as the other part of the base there for my taco. I always have plans for my leftovers to reuse another day because I do not want to waste food. It's healthier for you if you eat whole fruit instead of drinking all the fruit juices. But no matter what, we want you to read your nutritional labels. And the 3 things you want to avoid are the fat, the sodium, and the sugar. Couple of things for food safety. People always ask me about the dates that are on their products. So the use by, best by, sell by dates. Sell by is the last date that the stores are allowed to display the product for sale. It's only good to use for a few more days after that. So when they get towards the sell by date, that's when you'll notice some of the manager's specials. They'll put a special label on it and reduce that price because they're trying to get rid of it. Because if somebody doesn't buy it by then they have to throw it away. So the use by or best by are kind of interchangeable dates that people put on there. But that is the manufacturer's dates that they recommend for use of the product to ensure the best quality. So again, the use by and best buys are not food safety dates. That is a food quality date that the manufacturer guarantees that if you eat these potato chips before this date, that they will taste good. They won't taste stale. If you eat it after that date, it's all on you. We don't want you to throw away good food because you know, are fearful of those dates. Because I'll have some potato chips or something, because I don't eat them that often, that might be past the use by or best by date. So I'll just simply take a bite of it, and you know, hey, the chips don't taste stale. I can eat them even though it's past the date. It's a food quality, not a food safety. The sell by becomes more of a food safety issue. But again, you have a couple of days past that date. That's just the date that the stores have to get rid of it. But you don't want to keep it for too longer. Now, if you buy it by that date, put it in the freezer, and then it's good again for a couple of months. We want you to, again, get that MyPlate, get that colorful rainbow there in order to liven up some of your food. So don't forget to put that color on your plate. You can add, again, some canned meat, canned vegetables to a simple pasta salad that you bought at the store. You can top frozen cheese pizza with some of your yummy vegetables. You can get a whole grain bagel, put some yogurt on there and some fruit. You can add veggies and fruit to just a regular salad. So we want you to focus your meals on the vegetables and fruit, because that's what half of your plate should be. Everyone always tends to focus on the meat. What am I having with my chicken tonight? What am I having with my pork? You need to be asking, what am I having with my roasted veggies? You know, I've got my vegetables out and ready to go. What else am I having with it? And even when you're eating away from home, we want you to try to be as healthy as you can. You can always share an entree with a friend to get a variety, get a little bit lower cost. I've ordered an appetizer at certain places as a main course. I either ask them for a to-go box, or I even have brought a homemade Tupperware container as a to-go box to the restaurant with me, so I'm ready to take leftovers so I don't have to get a styrofoam box from them. And just trying something new that may give you ideas for home meals. So when I go to restaurants, I might, ooh, this looks really good, and I'll buy it, taste it, and then I'll come home and I'll learn how to make it myself. I will try to choose lower calorie meals. So I am one of those people, I'll look at that on the menus. If this restaurant is a chain restaurant that has more than 20 locations, it is required to provide the nutritional information. It'll tell you how many calories, fat, that kind of stuff. It might not be on the menu. It might be on the back of your thing in your tray. It might be up at the counter in a brochure. It might just be on their website, but they have to provide that information. Sometimes on your menus, it'll have a section for these are the foods that are under 500 calories, or these are Weight Watchers, or these are gluten-free, or these are whatever. Look for those kind of labels and see if it has the calorie information. But no matter what, watch for those portion sizes. Watch out for the bread and the chips and the salsa and the buffet lines when you go to different places. Some of the references where I got some of this information I mentioned is the University of Nebraska, Lincoln Extension, Oklahoma State, Kentucky, Colorado State, North Dakota State, University of Maryland, and of course the USDA, choosemyplate.gov. All of these wonderful universities are places that I get recipes for when I'm writing my newspaper articles, when I'm cooking meals for my home, or when I'm preparing food for my lunch and learns. But this has been Jennifer Brown, Family and Consumer Science Agent with the North Carolina Cooperative Extension in both Person and Granville counties. If you have any questions or would like any information, you can always email me at jennifer.brown@ncsu.edu, and please like and follow our Facebook page at facebook.com/Person Granville FCS. We are also on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thanks for tuning in.